Jared Kushner, senior advisor and son-in-law to the president, is coming under increased scrutiny in recent weeks. First, for his relationship and communication with Russian officials, and now a ProPublica and New York Times Magazine piece is looking at his career as a real estate developer. According to the report, Kushner's company relentlessly went after tenants in Baltimore, accusing them of breaking their lease or missing rent. Alec MacGillis, who wrote the article, joins us now from Baltimore. So, Alec, when you started looking into this story, what were you looking for, and what did you find out about Jared Kushner and how he conducted his real estate business?
Well, when I started looking into it, it was really just to find out what life was like in these complexes. I realized that he had all these holdings here in Baltimore, 15 apartment complexes, about 8,000 units in all. And I was just curious what life and conditions were like in these complexes. But what I found out really startled me. I looked into the court system here, and I found that there were hundreds and hundreds of cases that had been brought by Kushner's company against tenants and former tenants of the complexes, basically going after them for any possible reason, squeezing as much money out as they could, adding on all kinds of court fees, late fees, interest, and really just taking advantage of these tenants.
So, as you noted, Kushner Holdings has so many properties. Why go after tenants for a few $1,000s?
Well, clearly the company decided that there was, in fact, profit to be made in doing this. You'd think that it wouldn't be worth the hassle, to go and try to find these people. A lot of them are very hard to find. It's quite a transient population. But they decided that it was worth the trouble to go and find them, that if you add it up, a few thousand here and a few thousand there does add up across hundreds and hundreds of cases, does add up to being a fair chunk of change.
And what has been Jared Kushner's response to this, Alec?
Well, I put a whole bunch of questions to the company, to the Kushner company, and their response was essentially that this is just business. This is what they had to do to make sure that the rental contracts that people had signed were upheld, that they were basically following industry standards in this kind of pursuit, and that it was also their fiduciary duty to the other partners the other companies that they own these complexes with. It was their fiduciary duty as the managers of these complexes to try to get as much money as they could out of the tenants. They did not have any specific responses to some of the most egregious cases that I brought to their attention.
And just give us a sense, how many of the tenants that you talked to supported Donald Trump in the last election? Did they know that the Kushner name was attached to these properties?
No, it was quite extraordinary. Virtually none of the tenants I spoke to, and I spoke to quite a few, virtually none of them were aware that the complexes were owned by Jared Kushner. Some of them, even when I mentioned Jared Kushner's name, did not know who he was. I had to explain to them who he was. A fair number of the people I spoke to were Trump voters, and they were, of course, stunned to find out that the landlord who they really, just have great troubles with was, in fact, the son-in-law of Donald Trump.
Bottom line here, Alec, what's the big takeaway from your piece, you think, for readers?
Well, it really just gives us a view of a whole nother side of Jared Kushner, this incredibly influential person in the White House, the person who has the office closest to the Oval Office in the White House, that has all this power now across all these different areas of government. This is a whole other part of him that we did not know about. It also, though, I think just shows, again, just how great the inequality and sort of power disconnect is in this country when you have these people living in thousands of units just 40 miles from Washington who have really suffered quite a bit at the hands of someone who is now one of the most powerful people in the White House.
All right, Alec MacGillis, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.